Hello everyone, welcome back to Code Glancer YouTube channel. I am Sudhir and today I am going to explain you about the talent as well as candidate because these two domains are independent. So we will start from creating the controller and everything. Okay, so let get start the video. So I am going to create a controller called candidate controller. So basically controller are those classes which will intercept the your http request. So whenever you send any request from postman or something, you have to create class like controller. This is the industry standard for naming of the classes. And then if you want to make this to expose, so expose as the rest url, you have to write like rest controller. So this is one annotation. And then we have to write like at the rate request mapping. Okay, so what request it is going to take, right? So this is like class level request mapping. So generally I follow like plural noun concept. So here we have a candidates will be there because this is candidate, right? So candidate, but I generally like with the plural naming concept. Okay, so I am giving it like slash candidate. So what will be the url for accessing this? Like if you see here earlier, this is like http, this is the protocol. So if you are using the restful services, so for restful services we have either http or https. So I am using here http and then colon double slash, this is your host name and then port name, and this is the url basically. So in this respect what will be there, if I am writing like this, so this is going to be slash and then here will be candidates, right? All right, so till here we are good, but we have not written anything what method we are going to write here. So whether it will be get method or put method, so these are the method, right? Like get, put, post, patch. So I think you must be knowing all these method because these are the servlet methods. So maybe like I'll explain you one by one. So okay, so which method we need to create the candidate? So basically that is going to be post method. Okay, so what is the post method? It will take, it will take the body, right? What is the payload? So currently if you want to uh, create the candidate with the JSON payload, so you have to select the raw here and then you have to select the JSON here, and then you can prepare the JSON here, and whatever the JSON you will give, that will be received here. So for receiving it, like it is having the post mapping, right? So we have to write some method which will be the post method. Okay, so let me write it. So here we have to write public, while public, because if you want to expose any method as a rest method, okay, rest api, the method should be public. And what is the return type? So generally the return type will be http response or http entity. So I follow http entity personally. And then what is the, so I am just going to write like candidate. Okay, candidate dto we have, and then like I am following like candidate create method, create candidate. Okay, and okay, but if you see till now we have done, but how it will recognize the post method? So for that we have to write like at the rate post mapping. So now if you see here, this is the post mapping and this is the url. So basically this url will be if we are giving like slash candidate, so this controller class will expose the rest api with slash candidates. Okay, and then if we have a post mapping, so this method will be exposed at one of the api. Okay, all right, so we have like post mapping slash candidate, and then we have to return something. So for returning, what will be the return type? If you see here, http entity is there, right? So http entity subclass is response entity, because we are going to return the response, not the request. So we have a response entity. Okay, one more thing I just want to discuss, because this is a post method and you are going to send some payload, like what is the candidate, right? Candidate name, right? Candidate name, then you must enter like mobile of candidate, right? Okay, all right. So you must be entering all this detail basically, candidate name, candidate mobile, maybe like I'll just give it my name because this is a candidate class, and then email ID maybe, and what else like how much CTC. So CTC is going to be integer. So let's say he is having everything I am giving in lakhs, so 5 lakhs, right? And expected CTC is maybe asking 30% hike, so 30% of 5 lakh is how much? 1.5. So this is going to be 6 lakh 50,000, right? So he is asking for this. And what else maybe? So that candidate may be having the resume, so that uh, resume URL we can put here. So this is like going to be some S3 URL or something. Okay, so now whatever the data you are sending, let's say I am sending here resub and mobile number something like very fancy number 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, right? All 9 digit. And then email is something like contact dot resub at gmail.com. So this is his email, right? So all these details what we want to do when we hit this, okay, so this detail should be received to rest controller here, okay, as a post mapping, and this should be saved into the database. So if you remember in the previous class I have shown you like we are basically using here Postgres database. Okay, so let me launch the Postgres DB. I think Postgres DB is not running, so let me just start it. PC admin 4. Yeah, so if it start, meanwhile it is starting, let's start the coding. So if you see here, whatever the payload is coming, this payload we have to receive here, right? So I will annotate it with at the rate request body. So this is a annotation which basically convert this JSON into Java object. So request body, and what is the request body? So this is the DTO candidate DTO. Okay, so whatever I am sending here, let me open this. So this is now open. So I'll tell you, I'll show you like we have a database as a code glancer, and inside the code glancer we have a schema like interview. But if you see here, we have some table, right? So we have only entered the data into the users table, not in others table. So today we are working for the candidate. So let me show if there is any data. So if you see here, this is not giving any data, right? So if you see here, 0 rows affected or something, it's giving, right? So if I am doing select all rows or something, it's not giving me basically the data. Okay, because we have not entered any data so far. So in today's class we will, from the postman, this is any rest client, from here we will hit the data, and this should come to Java, and from Java it should go to the database, right? So for that we are coding. Generally I do not explain all of these, but I got some comments like for explanation, that's why I am doing today. So take this opportunity to learn the things, and if you do not want all this, like you can for better experience you can play this video on 1.5x, and you can get the better performance of the video. All right, so now for receiving this, right, like for receiving this request here, okay, so we have a at the rate request body. So what it do, it will convert the JSON into the Java classes. So let me see what is it there. So this is also not here anything, but remember we have a candidate domain class already created. So I will just copy all this data from here, right, whatever we have. So if I do it here for the time being, so these are like hibernate related things, so we may not need column and all, but these are the things we will need. Okay, and then we will need at the rate data. Basically this is a lombok, so that it will have a getter, setter, and few other things. All right, so let's do it. So now we have a candidate. So whatever we are sending from here, that will be received into the candidate. And once it is received, we have to save into the database. So I can directly write here the database thing, how to connect to the database, but I am not writing. I am going through one abstraction that is called service. So let me create one service for this. So remember, we have a user service. So now we are going to create similarly here, what is its name? Candidate service, and this is going to be interface. Okay, so now we have a candidate interface. So what it will do, so by default all the methods is like public, right? So we need candidate dto as a return type, and create candidate. Okay, and what it is taking as a input, candidate dto, candidate dto. All right, so this is the interface. Okay, like this is the contract, but we need to create one concrete classes like we have done for the user. So let me create one class here. This is going to be class, and generally we write like impl, like implementation. Okay, so I am just writing it, and this is going to be class, but it will implement what interface it will implement. It will implement the candidate interface, candidate service. All right, so it will complain to override this method. Okay, so this is coming polymorphism. So here we have one method, right? And here we are just overriding that method, and this will be at the rate service. Why we need at the rate service? To create the object of this class, but we do not want to create the object using the new keyword, because if we create the using new keyword, spring will not spring will not manage this. Okay, if you need somewhere else, so if you ask spring, can you give me the candidate object, it will not give you. That's why we, instead of creating by ourselves using the new keyword, we are giving instruction to spring to create it, and when wherever I will need it, give it to me. So where I need it, I need this candidate service, where I need this candidate service into the candidate controller. Okay, so here I am just doing at the rate auto wired. Okay, and private, and this candidate service. So what is the meaning of this auto wire candidate here? So it will look like, is there any object related with this candidate service? If there is that object, that object will come here automatically. We do not need to create the like at the rate using the new keyword. Okay, so now if we have this, we can use here it candidate service dot create candidate, and we will give this, right? So if we give here, this will go here. Okay, all right. And now if you see here, this is going to return something. What it is going to return, let's take it. So this is also going to return some kind of candidate only, and we are going to just return this candidate, and http status code is will be created, because this time we are creating the entity. Okay, all right. So now this flow is completed, but we have to implement, like this is still service. Okay, so from service, how it will connect to the database, right? So remember, for connecting to database, we have to go to the repository service, and here we have to create one repository that is going to be interface. So what interface? Like candidate repository. So we have now candidate repository. All right, so if we have a candidate repository, this is not a normal repository. We have to create this as a jpo repository. So I am going to just extend one repository, right? And this is like jpa repository. Why jpa repository? Because spring has given us lot of method here, like if you want to find any data from the database, this find all you can use. If you want to save, there is a save method. A lot of methods are here, and you need not to write what to do. Spring is having internal implementation itself. All right, so we will write like at the rate repository here. Okay, all done. So here one thing you have to remember, this is not a user repository, this is working on candidate, right? So we will write here candidate, right? Oh sorry, candidate. So this is a candidate domain. It knows like which table it is mapped. So this is mapped to candidate table. So how do you know here? Because if you see here, we have a candidate here. Okay, all right. So now we have a repository also. So this repository, where do we need? We need this repository in the service. So let's go to the service. Okay, so if I go to here candidate impl, this repository is needed here. So private candidate repository. All right, so you need to import. So shortcut it alt enter, so you can import it, and then you can auto wire here at the rate auto wire. All right, so once you have done the auto wiring, you can just call like candidate repository dot save method. Okay, but if you see the candidate repository is taking, okay, if you directly give it, okay, this is not going to take, this will give you the error. Why? Because if you go to the repository, candidate repository, we have given here candidate domain class, but what is this? This is a DTO. So we need some kind of conversion. So let's do the conversion. You can here do, but I have added one mapper. Okay, this is coming from map construct class. This is a predefined class, so no need to write any kind of implementation, just create one interface that is going to be candidate mapper. All right, and this is going to be interface, so change it to interface. Okay, and just annotate with at the rate mapper here. So this will be your and mapper class. So which function we want? So similarly we have a for user DTO, similarly we can create here also, but here what is the source and target? So this is target and this is source. So we have a target here like candidate candidate, right? And this is going to be candidate, and here we will have a candidate DTO. Okay, and this is going to be reverse. So we want to use user. So here we have to change like candidate to candidate DTO, and here we need to candidate. So I am just changing accordingly, and here we need a candidate DTO. So I am just doing like reverse candidate DTO, and here we need a candidate. All done. But remember one thing, like this is not going to be work unless you recompile it, right? So here we have a Maven tool. So I am just doing clean. So this will just compile your all the Java classes. Sorry, clean will just remove existing target class and okay, clean all the things, and then if you do the install, it will recompile all the classes and make one target folder here where your jar will be created. So in coming videos I will be trying to explain you all of this. So it is failing because we have given the wrong thing. So just for the time being I'm commenting so that it will compile it here. So this is going to be very interesting. In I am going to every day add some videos, and there are a lot of plans to basically include in this project. So please tune to this channel and watch all the videos one by one. So now if what we have to do, maybe it is already created. So auto wire candidate mapper, right? So if you see here candidate mapper impl we have not created, but still it's coming, right? Because when we compile it, it automatically got generated. So if you want to see it, that's all, you can go and see. So remember we have not written anything in the candidate mapper class, right? But it is already created in target folder, right? And it knows like which field to map here. Okay, so now we can just use this here. So candidate mapper dot to candidate, right? Because we have a DTO and we need domain class. So we have now, so if you do here alt control V is the shortcut to get left hand side operand. So I am just doing it. So if I do it, I will get it here. All right. And after that, what we have to do, we have to use the candidate repository dot save method. So this is taking the candidate. All right. So we will get the candidate, right? And this is going to give the basically ID of this candidate, right? So I am just using the same one candidate so that it will be updated here, and later point of time we have to return this. So let me just put here, so this is going to be to candidate DTO, and we have a DTO here, so we can use this one only, right? And then finally what is the return type here? DTO. So here, first of all, a candidate DTO to candidate we converted through the mapper, and once it is saved to database, it will have basically ID, because ID, if you see here, this ID we are not giving, right? So if we are not giving this ID in the payload, we will not give like what is the ID of this, right? So database ID it will automatically generate it. So that ID will be coming next, and then we are just converting from DTO to, sorry, candidate to candidate DTO, and then we are returning. So with this we are done with the flow, and if we start we will be able to create the candidate. So we have a address as well, and then we have a notice period. So name we have email, mobile, CTC, ECTC. So let me create all. So we have a CTC, we have a ECTC, okay, and we have a notice. So let me add as a notice here. So this is going to be 30 days notice, something like this. And then we have what? We have a while, we have a location which place this candidate is residing. So location is, let's say, Hyderabad. Okay, all right. And I currently there is no URL for resume, so I am not giving this. I can give the email address basically. So this guy is currently, let's say, staying in Kompally. Okay, so all of these details I have given. So when I will call it, so it will come here. So let me debug and show you, okay, how it is coming. So currently let me start this basically. So if I am going to, instead of start, I am going to debug. So when I will hit from the postman, our control will come and stop here. Okay, so let's watch it. So now debugging process is starting. We will be seeing soon the logs. All right, so starting spring. So there is no profile set. So all of these I will be teaching in the next video. So Tomcat started, right? And yeah, you are able to see some logs. Tomcat started on port 8080. That's why I am giving here the port 8080. If you try to give something else, then you have to give something another port number basically. So now if you see here, once I clicked here, it automatically came here and it is waiting for my control, right? So that's why I was telling. So if you open this, if you click on this, you can see. So whatever we have entered, all those values are basically from JSON to Java, it is automatically converted. So this is the beauty of Spring framework. And how does it, how does it converted? It got converted using the request body, right? And now this is the data. So if I go inside this, okay, now it is coming here, right? It came into the service class because there was a call of the service class. And then you can see here, okay, so everything will work like it's going inside and inside. So let's just free the breakpoint. Okay, I think there is some error here. What is this error? Okay, so email is saying like it's mandatory. And okay, so I think there is a field called email which is mandatory field, but we have given like email ID, but its name is here email. Okay, so don't worry, it failed. So it failed like, but this error we have not handled. That's why if you say here we are getting the 500 internal server error. So in the next class I will also explain you how we can handle the database related exception. Okay, because if you see this email ID column is mandatory here. Okay, it cannot be null basically for the candidate. How will you see this? Go to the properties, and if you see the columns, right, and go to email. So email is what? Not null, so this cannot be null basically. Okay, so let us give some correct this. Email is there, field name is email, not the email ID. Okay, so let me show you once again, maybe like if you are confusing. So here the field name is email. Okay, so let me once again hit this. So if I hit this, it again came here. So let's go one by one. Yeah, so now it's here, and if we do it, all right. So if you notice here, like insert into candidate, right, and these are the values going on, right? So if you want to insert in the database, how do you write? You write some insert into and the table name. So this is the insert into candidate table name. Now earlier we were not able to see any data into the database, so now it's time to see. So I will click on candidate and view all rows, so you will at least see one row here. Oh great, so we have one row here, and whatever the data we have given, all this data is coming: 30 days notice period, resub, compully, and everything. Okay, so with this I am concluding this video. Like we learn the concept how to expose any REST API. So we have currently exposed the REST API for candidate, and then for that we use the REST controller to expose anything as a REST, and then to map which URL it is going to be. So this is like URL mapping. So we can use the request mapping, and then this is a post mapping. Why post mapping? Because whatever the API we want to post the data. So this is the data we want to post. That's why we have chosen as a post mapping. Okay, and here we give at the rate request body, because we are trying to convert, this is a JSON data, so we want to convert the JSON data into a Java object, and then from Java object we are saving into the database, right? So we learn a couple of annotations. One is the REST controller, another one is REST request mapping, then we learn auto wiring, okay, to get the object here, then we learn at the rate post mapping, at the rate request body. Okay, so these couple of annotations we learn to make any API using the Spring framework. Okay, so with this, I am concluding the video. Thank you for watching the Code Glancer, and I request you to watch this video and please like and subscribe. I see like I am seeing a lot of views on my videos, but very few like and comment. So please do like and comment as well, which motivates me to make more and more such videos, which is very informative if you are trying to build any kind of project, and if you are learning or if you are already working, so some interesting point is coming in the next video. So thank you very much once again. Bye.